Thank you for tuning in to Women Without Limits. It's a platform where women, empowering women, happens to be the norm. With your host, none other than Kathyann Greene, Vice President of Banking and a published author. Along with her on our guest list is Dr. Donna Brown, Associate Professor of Registered Nursing Programs. And we also have Dr. Tracy Thompson, the Master of Sociology and also Director of Aviation. Next up, we have Leslie Bowes Muhammad, co-owner and president of Review Healthcare, along with Lorraine Turner, General Manager, Project Manager / PMP certified. And pulling up the rear, we have Alicia Wade, registered nurse educator and Air Force veteran. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. We hope that we're able to pour something back into you.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I can hear echo. So welcome, 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 everyone. I can't see that list. Okay. We'll edit this. Welcome, everyone, to the actually the first Woman Without Limit podcast. It is our very first, and I have an amazing panelist. I couldn't wait for this to start. We started a little bit late, but that's okay due to technical difficulties. But I do have my panelists that I want to introduce to you. The theme for this month is empowering women, breaking barriers, and inspiring success. Welcome, ladies. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. We do have a tight schedule with lots of questions. I hope you guys are prepared for those questions as well. Uh, to my right, probably your left, we have Dr. Brown. Her professional credentials are, don't ask me because I don't know what they mean. She'll tell you. DNP, MSN, MHA, BSN, RN, BC, and she is an associate professor at Eastern Florida State College right here in Florida. And she is in registered nursing program as well. A little bit about herself. She enjoys teaching, traveling. She's been to lots of different countries worldwide, and she loves gardening as well. If you want tips on gardening, you can talk to Dr. Brown. Don't talk to me. Uh, right to her right, we have, I'm sorry, next person we have Alicia Wade. She's actually a registered nurse educator, Air Force vet. She has several master's degree in healthcare. I think she's on like her fourth master's degree at this point. And if you look at her closely, she looks like someone on this panel. I'm not going to tell you who. Her journey began with her bachelor's degree in science and nursing from Duke University. So again, welcome, Alicia Wade. Then we have Lorraine Powell Turner, PMP, General Manager and Assistant Project Manager expert at an IT company. She holds a master's degree in project management, bachelor's degree in communication, certificate in medical assistance. She went from medical to project manager. We'll talk about that as well. She enjoys decorating, traveling, spending time with family and friends. We have none other, Leslie Bowles. Her credentials are, again, don't ask me, I don't know what they mean. They're BA, CCS, CPC, CPMA, CHC, CPC-4, CRC. Listen, my credential is MRS, Mrs. She is the co-owner and president of Review Healthcare with over 16 years of experience in healthcare compliance, holds various credentials and served in various leadership roles, including on the board of directors at Engage. Is that North Carolina? So welcome, Leslie Bowles. Last but definitely not least, we have Dr. Tracy Thompson. Again, her credentials, DBA, MBA, and Masters in Sociology. Welcome, Dr. Tracy. She said, I'm a dedicated wife, married To Demetrius, we've shared 18 wonderful years of marriage. They have kids, grandkids, with 20 years of experience in education. Her academic journey includes, again, BA in criminal justice and associate degree in sociology. Um, Tracy said, I believe in the power of faith and the guidance of God in all phases of her life. Again, welcome to my amazing panelists. We are going to, yay, welcome guys. We're going to get started. I mean, and thank you guys for saying yes to the call. I definitely appreciate you guys. This is the first of many. For those of you who don't know me, I am Kathyann Greene, the co-host, wife, mother, all that good stuff. My hubby and I just published our first book, From Pain to Purpose. Follow us, go grab it. It'll bless your soul and bless your heart as well. So thank you guys for saying yes. I was super excited when I put this together. When I asked you guys for your bio, I have to say Dr. Brown bio is like 7 pages long with all of the credentials as well. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you guys. Not in any order as well. My first question to you all is, how do you balance your professional career with your responsibilities as you guys are wives, your career, right? Your mothers, some of you are wives to pastors. How do you balance everything that you're doing? And again, anyone can answer, or I can pick someone.
I would say, I would say,
And you got to speak up for the audience, by the way.
I would say putting things in priority and planning. It's all about planning.
Yeah.
All right. So they say that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Right.
For sure.
So I think just planning ahead. I think that would
Yes.
balance everything out. Just make sure that
Yeah.
Putting things on the calendar.
Yeah.
Blocking time off.
Yeah.
For certain things.
Yeah. So, Dr. Brown, I'm going to come to you for this because we know each other for some time now.
Right.
And I can tell you that, your husband is always in ministry. You guys are always in ministry as well. You guys do a lot of traveling. You have time for your garden. Hope you can come and help me with mine.
Yeah.
How do you balance everything and just making sure that you also spend time with your husband, with your kids? I know you have older kids. Talk to us about that.
I think it's priorities. Just setting priorities, knowing that everything is going to be important. Okay, but that's all. My garden, the family, not in that order.
Are you sure?
So, all of those are important, but I have to set time for certain things each day.
Yeah.
Work, of course, is priority. Family, and I just make sure that I have time for each, and also time to rest.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do too much all the time, you get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You get overwhelmed. So I think I've learned over the years that I can't do everything, and that I have to say, okay, a little bit. I'll have to spend. It may be setting date nights.
Yeah.
As I think you guys do that. And now, example, we're going to see our son. That's a priority for us right now before he goes overseas. So we want to do that.
Yeah.
Time with family. So it's just you have to just prioritize.
Yeah.
And have time for that.
I think that's one of the things too I struggle with is finding the balance, right? And finding time. And I know Eric always say, Kat, so when are you going to spend time with me? When are we? And it all comes down to, okay, top priority. And some things are not, some things are not 1 or 2 or 3, right? You just got to learn how to balance.
Yes.
Leslie, Alicia, what are you guys' thoughts on that? You want to share something?
Sure. I'm happy to share about this because what I've learned to do with balance is to say no. That's first. A lot of times we have an issue with taking on too much because we're saying yes to too much. And so, what I've learned to do in order to prioritize my yeses is to evaluate my nos. And that's really, really important for me, especially as an entrepreneur and a wife and a mother. I think it's really important for me not to try to do it all, right? And to say, no, I'm at full capacity. The other thing I'm a fan of And for a while, I'm gonna be honest, it really bothered me not to do this rather, because I came up watching my mother do everything. She cooked meals every night, she cleaned the house every Saturday, and somehow that gets ingrained in you, and you think you almost feel bad for outsourcing it. But I outsource a lot. And I don't feel bad about it at all. I outsource things that take up my time where I can be spending that time with my family or doing something that I need to prioritize. And so, for me personally, as a business owner and entrepreneur, one of the things that I've evaluated is what can I outsource? And I'm okay with that. I have the means and the resources in order to do so. And for me, that's balance, being able to say, I'm at my full capacity and I can't do it.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
It's good.
Dr. Thompson, what about you?
I think sometimes we forget about our support system that we have around us that can help us with that balance. If you put in the long hours that I used to put in 12, 13 hours a day, coming home, I'm like, okay, I have to cook dinner, I have to spend time with my husband, make sure the house, whatever. My mom, I rely on my mom to come. My mom would come and stay with me 6 months out of the year. So my son was taken care of, dinner was made, laundry was done. So I really utilize my support systems. I have 5 sisters. My son never spent the night out at anyone's house. He went to my sister's daycare. So it was really my family support.
I love it. Love it. Lisi?
I love it. Just kind of like what everyone said, but just making sure in order for me to balance, I have to take care of myself too. So that has to be on the priority list. Making sure that I'm taking care of myself in order to be the best wife, to be the best mom. I'm in school, we're pouring, especially those of us that are in healthcare. All we do is take care of others all day. So just making sure I kind of prioritize myself, making sure I'm taking care of myself in order to, be there for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important, right?
I
And
just want to add, the word it really is self-preservation.
Mhm.
I love it.
Through all of this, right? You have to preserve yourself so you can
Mhm.
care for others and help others.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, having the no is so important.
And knowing when to say no, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I struggled with that, but I'm learning as I go. Yeah. Yeah. So I have individual questions, and because of the time, I want to get to the individual question first. And if we have time, we'll go to the other question. But Leslie, I'm gonna go to you first.
Okay.
I've heard some really successful story about your career growth. And my question to you is, what inspired you to walk away from a successful career and start your own healthcare company? Because when I think about that, you have to have some crazy faith in order to do that and to say yes to that call, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
thinking if God had to tell me you got to walk away from what I'm doing today, I'm gonna have to pray fast. I'm gonna have to plead the blood. We're gonna have some conversation before I really do that. Talk to me about
Sure.
how you felt when you made that decision. What was that like?
When I made the decision to walk away from my job, it was already a part of the pattern that I had established for my life. And the word that I'll use is obedience. I think lots of times when we think about obedience, we think about it in the context of sin, right? We think about it only with the aspects of not sinning. For me personally, it extended beyond that. Of course, that being as a Christian, being part of my faith. But for me, there was always a tugging at me to do more. And one of the things that I sort of followed all my life is that pull, right? I have always had that, I will call, it version of Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder, kind of telling me not to get comfortable where I am, because my purpose and my calling, even for where I am right now, with the business that I own now, it is for a bigger purpose. And when that tug comes again for me to move in the direction that God wants me to go, I know it's going to be time again. But for me, um, my life depends on my obedience. And part of my obedience in leaving the job that I had was God saying to me, I have something so much bigger than you can imagine, but it's going to require you to be obedient to my voice, to walk down this path that's not easy, and then also to sacrifice. And, you know, one of the things that I want to do first and foremost when it comes to how I live my life is not to forget to obey God. And that has been sort of the driver of everything that I did. In addition to that, the other thing that has always driven me to the next is, I grew up with my parents being baby boomers. I grew up with them coming from a certain background and a certain level of exposure. I grew up hearing a lot of conversations about what we could not have. And as I started to grow older and older, I realized that those conversations were based on the fact that my parents were not exposed to more, or the folks around me were not exposed to more. And I started asking myself, why can't I have that? Why is
Mhm.
it? Why is it that I've created this invisible box? And instead of passing it down to my child, what I decided to do was kick it in and basically say, no, we deserve more and we are going to get more and we're going to leave a legacy. And I keep in mind all of the things that my parents taught me was sort of the entry point to my why, right? If it wasn't for the way in which they worked hard and the way in which they talked to me, I wouldn't have had the courage to go beyond what I've seen. But I say it's a combination of two things, right? My obedience to God, and the second being, I'm a person that believes that in this life, everything that has my name on it, I'm going to go after it. Point blank, period.
I like that. So in 3 seconds or less, if
I'm going to try.
someone wanted to know, right, if someone's interested in what you do and learn more
Mhm.
about, I know you do the coding, I know it's healthcare. If someone isn't interested in learning what you do, how can they connect with you?
Sure. Yeah. So you can visit me on my LinkedIn, Leslie Bowles, um, on LinkedIn. Also, my website, www.review, and then also on my personal website, www.lesliebowles.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Say that again. Can you say the review part again? The website.
Sure. It's
All right.
www.reviewhealthcare.com.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie.
You're
So
welcome.
we have
Of
30
course.
minutes. So we're going to go to Dr. Tracy now. My question for you is, with your extensive background in education and diverse skill set, what unique strategies or approaches have you implemented as a campus director to foster positive learning environment? And how do you believe these have impacted student success? Because every time I see you, you're on a helicopter. And I have to say, if you plan on giving us a gift, do not let it be a helicopter. That's my disclaimer. But go ahead.
I enjoyed the helicopter. I've been in education for so long as campus president, but I started as a student advisor. So my passion has always been to work with students, at-risk students, underprivileged students, first-time generation college students. So that culture is my lane. And I've taken the worst of the worst of gang presidents and turned them into amazing students that became valedictorian of universities. Uh, my culture has been to work with my staff to really get to know your students. My students come in the morning, I'm there with coffee greeting them. Whether I had a good day or a bad day, they would never know. And I always told my staff, the students are entitled to have a bad day, but we're not. So get to know your students, and when they're having a bad day, you don't bother them. You read them, kind of leave them alone, and find out what's wrong with them. So I built buddy systems where students were responsible for their group. So if John was out today, somebody in that group need to know why John was out. If Sally needed a ride, someone in that group needed to pick Sally up to make sure she get to school. I incorporated tutoring programs, some mandatory tutoring, peer. I had day students babysitting for night students and vice versa so they could get to school. Uh, and I wasn't ashamed that if you didn't show up to school, that I showed up to your house. And that became a joke. You better come to school because you know Dr. Thompson show up at your house. When I would, I ring the bell, walk you in school. Many days I have to against company policy, but I will let them come to school and their kids sit in the back because I know what the foundation of education, the level it can take them. And it could get them out of the situation that they were in, and it can turn their entire life and environment around. So I think, and I did the same thing with my staff also. I believe in work and balance. So if you have to leave early to take your parents to the doctor, you do that. Yeah, I'll cover that. So it was a really nice community system inside the school that I helped build that made many students successful. And I always hired people smarter than me. I believe in working smarter, not harder. So I wasn't threatened by them. I needed that knowledge because all these ideas together just help build great schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to go to RN Alicia Wade. My question to you is, as an Air Force vet, how has your military experience influenced your approach to healthcare education?
I would say, being in the Air Force, we had a lot of resources. So when it comes to healthcare education, whether it's for friends, family, or my students, understanding the resources that we have. Anything that you need, we have so much information that's out there that I always push for making sure you know as much information as you can. Educate yourself. It's our responsibility, especially, my Black and brown people, educating ourselves as much as we can to take care of ourselves. The Air Force, it was a blessing to have that many resources, to get to know so many people of different backgrounds. So yeah, just kind of exposing yourself a little bit more, beyond just your neighborhood, your community, taking better care of myself. It was the best shape of my life. But yeah, just I like to push forward, especially for people that don't know. Take better care of yourself, whether it's mentally, physically. There's resources that are out there. If you don't know of resources, ask. So I just try to be kind of like that vessel. Whatever you need, that's kind of my go-to. I can help you get that.
I love it. And I like the fact that you're in healthcare, because your parents said that when they get older, you guys
Mm,
will put them into like a nursing home,
mm,
that they'll be on the west wing of your home. So
mm.
they wanted me to share that
Absolutely.
with you on this podcast as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to go to project manager Lorraine. My question for you is, um, given your extensive background in project management and experience across diverse industries, how do you adapt your project management strategies to meet the unique challenges of each sector?
Okay. So project management, you have to be so creative.
Yeah, because I can't do it.
And I have a very creative mind. So with project management, there are several methodologies that go along with project management. So when it comes to different industries or sectors, you now just have to take those methodologies and tweak them towards that sector. So you have to learn that industry, whether it's the service or product that they're given to their audience or target audience. You have to learn what those products and services are. Because going into project management, you as a project manager, you have to start that project from start to finish and see it all the way through.
Yeah.
And all the in-betweens that come with that, whether it be training individuals on the project team, um, setting your milestones, because there are several milestones that you have to reach, and also staying under budget, on budget or under budget,
Yeah.
and finishing that project on time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think those are the two main things that project managers struggle with, is staying under budget and delivering that project on time. So again, you have to be very creative in what you do. You have to build a strong team, and you want your team to be cross-functional. So they're all bringing in something to the project, right? Their expertise, and they can learn from each other. And that will help the project to flow smoothly. And lastly, you have to learn the target audience. Okay. What is this project? And it could be a new product, it could be an enhancement on a current product that you're trying to do. So you want to learn the target audience and what the value of that product or service is to that individual. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, just have to be creative. You have to be patient because you're going to be dealing with a lot of people, right? And so you're not only a project manager managing this product, but you're also a people manager managing all those individuals on your team.
Yeah, I'm glad you said patient because I was going to say that, right? I manage a project in my world, and the challenging thing for me was chasing folks.
Mhm. Yes.
And you all know when the accent come out, it's over. And I think that was the challenge. That was one of the challenges for me. You have to have that gift, that's what I want to do. And that's when I realized it's not for me,
Yeah,
right?
and that's true because I started out in education and I enjoy that was my passion, education. And it was my passion because my parents instilled in me that education is what I needed to get through life and it's going to open up doors for me. So when someone offered that to me and guide me through the whole admissions process for college and things like that, I then felt like I want to help someone else with that as well. And so my students were veterans, right? They were on the battlefield. They were in on their computers, right? And so it was very fulfilling for me to help that group of students reach their educational goals. And so I started out with that, and then my creative mind, and I always want to learn more.
Yeah.
If I'm over here learning this and I see something over here that seems interesting to me, oh, I want to learn that too. And that's how project management came in. Just being at work, working on small, we call them Kaizen projects at my job. And they're just small little cell projects that we do. And I was good at it for the very first time I did that. And I was like, this is fun. I can be creative. I can make changes, that's going to benefit the company. And that's what led me to my master's degree in project management. And
Awesome job. Awesome. And if you need any ideas in decorating, please follow her, Lorraine Turner Powell on Facebook. Last but not least, Dr. Brown. The question for you is, as an associate professor, how do you believe education shapes the future of the healthcare industry? And what are some changes you would like to see in healthcare education?
I believe it changes because I think what we need to do is we need to, with students, one of the issues, well, two things. I'm going to probably answer the second question first.
Okay.
Is with a lot of our students, unfortunately, and I think a lot of us say maybe due to COVID, that it's more entitlement with a lot of the students.
Mhm.
And that's what we're seeing is that the students, they want us to hold their hands more. And there's resources for that. I think the college did a good job in building various resources for the students that we have. There's a lot of different resources that I don't want to mention for them, even with test taken to even help with that. And the first part of your question, I think the good thing that we've done in education, and it's something that I think it's the trajectory of how it moves, is that it's everything is more evidence based. So when we do whatever we do, it has to be evidence based. If it's even putting in a Foley correctly or IV, as your daughter would mention, it's all evidence based. So that's our approach in teaching the students to make sure that what we're teaching them that they can impact and they can take it to the workforce. And it's caring and teaching them how to care to some degree. But we always say that the caring has to be ingrained.
Yes.
Because not everyone can be a nurse.
Yeah.
So it has to be somewhat ingrained. And then I always say we can teach you the skill, but and then what?
We can't teach you how to love on people and take
how to
care.
care. So we try to again teach them the skill and to do our best to teach the caring to some degree, utilizing evidence based, to make sure it's putting it all the pieces together.
Yeah, I remember years ago, my youngest daughter, we were in Barbados, and we went to the hospital to visit my grandmother, and the nurse who was taking care of my grandmother asked my daughter, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And at that time, she wanted to be a nurse. And she was like, in order to be a nurse, you have to love people.
True.
You have to want to be around people. You have to take care of people. You have to nurture people. And if she's like, not everyone can be a nurse.
Right.
And that reminded me of that as well. Awesome. Awesome. So my question is, and this is for anyone, if someone is interested in the field that you're in right now, what advice would you give them?
Ooh,
I'm
child.
happy. I'm happy to go first on this because
I'll give you 5 seconds, Leslie.
yeah, yeah, I'll go really fast. I think one of the things, and I'm so glad we have so many educators and folks
Mhm.
who work at university and colleges, because I think one of the things that a lot of kids are missing nowadays, which creates this entitlement, is they think that they can duplicate this or an essence or a calling for a thing. I think we have to teach kids how to find what they're naturally good at before you even
I
sit
love
and
it.
take a class or you go for a specific certification. What are you naturally good at? And for me, one of the things I knew I was always good at was being nosy by nature and talking a lot. And that's what it worked well for public speaking and then also just investigating, because our part of what we do at Review Healthcare is we investigate healthcare fraud. And so that comes naturally to me to be nosy. And I don't think we're teaching students enough about what their natural abilities are and then placing that in the right pathways, which creates these purposeful students that create purposeful professionals, which creates purposeful industries, if that
Mhm,
makes sense.
Love
mhm.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
I also think exposure.
Ah,
I think we don't
Mhm.
expose our kids to a lot of different.
I agree.
Yes. And exposing them will help them also pinpoint what it is that they like and what they want to do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think mentorship.
Mentorship,
Mentoring,
yes.
yes. Yes, like different industries, find someone in that industry that you might have interest and see if maybe you can mentor or shadow that person for a day or two,
Yes.
and that goes back to the exposure that you're
Right.
speaking.
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
I'm glad you said mentorship. When I first came here, um, and I started my career, I had a mentor, and someone always said, "Find someone who looks different than you."
Mhm.
And I did. One of my mentors, and it's funny because I just published a resume writing guide, and I talked about mentorship because that helped propel my career as well. So I'm glad that you said that. I hope you guys out there are taking notes. We're giving you guys lots of nuggets here. Um, anyone want to share anything else about that?
I agree with the mentorship. That's something that I do. I mentor a student at the high school. And I think whatever city that individuals are listening in, almost every city has some type of mentorship for a high school or also middle school. So I think that's where we can start. We all can give something.
Yeah.
So again, trying to fit that in your schedule. As busy
Right.
as my schedule is, I do fit that in to meet with the student, even by Zoom or sometimes in person, and again, to see someone, that's successful, and I usually get them from freshman year and then I follow them all the way through high school and then even if they're in college. So, and again, that's rewarding to see, someone that you're pouring into someone. So we all have something to give.
Yeah.
So
So if
take advantage
So
of.
if someone wanted you to be their mentor, is that something that's just in the school, the college or the church or?
It's part of this particular one that I'm part of is part of Florida's
Okay.
program. It's called
Mhm.
Take Stock for Children.
Take stock for children. Okay.
Yes. So I think every state has something,
Okay.
that someone could get involved in.
If you're in Florida, go to Take Stock for Children.
Absolutely.
Dr. Donna Brown. Yep. Add that to her portfolio again. Awesome. Lisi, did you want to say something?
I would say anyone that's interested in whether it's being a nurse, being in healthcare, being in the military, one, you got to have that initial I want to do this, but then you have to have that drive to continue forward, right? And then you have to be able to continuously educate. You're always learning. There's always something to learn and kind of like elevate too. And then for us that are in the room, being that mentor and that resource to ones that you see that may be trying to follow in your footsteps. So just continuously educating yourself, continuously learning, we all bring something to the table and just continues, like kind of having that drive.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about empowerment, right? We're all mothers, so we have children. Um, and we all have strong work ethics. If not, we would not have been here, right? In the space that we're in, for in our career. How do you, and this is for anyone, how do you empower your children to pursue their dreams while modeling a strong work ethic through your own career?
I would say first be the example,
Mhm.
I
right?
like that.
You
Yeah.
have to first be the example, because your kids are going to model what you do, because that's what they see first at home. And then also too, I have two boys, and they're somewhat in their career now, and I always tell them to strive for excellence, strive for growth, but in doing so, not to not at the expense of someone else,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you want to be ambitious, you want to grow and navigate through life and be compassionate. And once you start to grow and you start to move up, always try to bring someone else with you,
Mhm.
because that was what helped me to grow. There was always someone there giving me a helping hand, teaching me, the pathways and different things that I need to do, educated me on different aspects of my career. So that's what I would say to young people, my children, other people's children, just, strive for excellence and growth, but not at the expense of someone else.
I like that.
I
Okay.
would say the same thing. I think just being an example. I didn't have to tell my kids. I mean, it was just understood. You go to high school, you go to college, and you continue on your career. So it wasn't. I didn't have to tell them that. It was just understood because they saw, how hard their parents work, and again having that exposure,
Mhm.
as we talked about. That also actually helped my daughter because when she was in high school, she was able to volunteer at the hospital that I worked at, and that gave her exposure of being in the operating room, working with different physicians as a high school student. So having the exposure always helps.
Yeah. Love it. Anyone else?
I was gonna say I have the youngest baby, so we are learning how to empower her. But having a little girl, just being the example, being vulnerable enough to know that things are not always going to go your way, but how do we bounce back? She's only 2, so when she has her little, mishaps or trips or things like that, I'm like, it's okay to cry. And she does this like, show me your muscles, and I'm like, but then you have strength, right? So just kind of being the example and hopefully we're doing things right. We'll let you know in a couple of years, but just being the example and setting the expectations that, you know, whatever it is that you want to do, college may not be the dream for her or may not be the path for her, but as parents, just kind of being open minded that you will be successful. You see your parents are successful, and that's the expectation. So, kind of setting the expectations for her, at her young age.
I like that.
Also, you have to let them know that you don't have to be perfect at everything.
I like that.
Just celebrate the small
That-
victories
Mhm.
to empower them.
Yes.
Mhm. Love it. Love it. My last question. What advice? I have many questions, so we're gonna have to do a part 2. What advice would you give a woman struggling to believe they are worthy of success?
I think what Tracy just said. Again, so celebrate the small things. It may not be okay. Tomorrow I'm gonna get my MD, but start small.
Yeah.
Okay, you just passed a biology course. That's great. Okay, start somewhere. So that's
And also too, I would say, embrace the no's, because somewhere down the line there's going to be a yes that's
Yeah.
going to open up doors. So from every no, you can learn something.
Yeah.
Right. And then you just take that as a stepping stone to go farther.
Uh, and realizing everyone's path is different and unique. But just stay focused on your journey.
Yeah.
Don't get wrapped up in someone else's. Stay focused on yours.
Yeah. My biggest thing I say is never give up on you, right? And it goes back to what you guys said. Celebrate the small wins. It doesn't matter, right? Don't be afraid to fail. And I never call it fail, right? It's lesson learned.
right.
Never be afraid to fail and just keep going, keep pursuing that dream, because a lot of us, I feel like we want that microwave success, right? You push it in a microwave, 2 seconds later, boom, I'm rich. So when you're pursuing your goal and you realize, wait a minute, I started this 2 days ago and now I'm not a millionaire, I give up. So I notice a lot of folks want that microwave success, and we have to understand that it's a journey, and we need to enjoy that journey, celebrate the journey, celebrate each win, and give yourself a pat on the back and say, "Wait, I did this, right? We've accomplished something," and I think that's important as well.
Yeah, just you got to put one foot in front of the other to get
I like
forward.
that.
You
Yeah.
have to keep going. It was I think Denzel said it, but he took it from someone else as well. Fall down 7 times, get up 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without
Look at
commitment,
you.
period. Without commitment, you'll never start. But more
Yeah.
importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. So you have to keep going every single day. And it takes a different type of grit, right? Because not every day looks good. And then it's like, well, God's plan, he has a plan, he has a purpose. He didn't forget about me. So just keep going. Even when you're struggling and you're just crawling on the floor, just keep going. Keep
Yeah.
going.
As Maya Angelou said, when you're down, if you can look up, you can get up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And give yourself grace, right?
Yeah.
Give yourself grace. You're human, you may not accomplish, I may not accomplish as fast as you have, or vice versa. Give yourself grace and don't look at other people accomplishment. If you do, look at it as, wow, you did that. I know if you do, I can do that, right? I can do whatever your why is, right? Don't always look at someone's success as a downfall, right? You got to celebrate people, and folks out there, don't be jealous of your friend's success.
Don't
Celebrate people and learn to
don't
stand for
ever.
folks as well, because and I believe if God did it for you, then he can do it for me, and if he did it for me before,
You do it again.
he'll do it again. That's a song right there.
Absolutely.
Come on, somebody.
And also, too, going back to success, what is success?
Right, and that was gonna be one of my
Right.
questions, but we're gonna leave that for part 2. But no,
Okay,
you go ahead.
No, but yeah, because success for one person might not be the same for someone
Absolutely.
else. You know, success for me is maybe getting up and having a good day
Mhm.
without any hiccups.
Right.
You know, I'm going through my day and everything went just as planned.
Absolutely.
That's success.
Yes.
You know, success is having your kids, they're not in prison, they're not getting in trouble. You've raised good
It's a
kids.
blessing.
That's success.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Love it. Leslie,
Oh,
anything from you?
no, I was just going to say, I think one of the hardest reasons why we talk so much about worth is because we're not putting a lot of effort into evaluating who we really are. I did this, it was like a little example with some of my mentees. I basically asked them to write down who they are without naming their titles: mom, wife, whatever your profession is. And 60% of the room couldn't. And I think one of the reasons why we can't define ourselves outside of the external is because we don't know who we are internally. And so I always tell people to evaluate who you internally. A lot of people don't know who they are. All of these titles make them who they are, and they never know who they are outside of that. And so their worth is tied to the external versus the gifts that God has given you on the internal. So my advice would be to evaluate who you are internally, right? If you can't evaluate who you are internally without all of these titles, you don't know who you are, including mom, wife, even though these are blessings to be those things. I think that's the first problem.
I love it. Love it. All right. Any final thoughts from anyone? No?
I
Y'all
did
are
want to add that,
amazing.
yeah, I was going to say this is absolutely amazing. The other thing that I was just going to add about mentorship that a lot of people don't talk about is sponsorship. I think it's equally as important is to find a mentor as it is to find a sponsor. And I think as women, one of the things that we need to really start evaluating is how many doors have you opened for people outside of how many people have you
My.
mentored.
Absolutely.
Um, and so I've made it my goal to count the amount of doors I have opened rather than the amount of people I've mentored. So that's one final item I would add.
So if someone wants to be sponsored, it's okay to reach out to you. Got it.
It is.
Got it. Lisi, did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying everyone is amazing in their profession. I think we need to do this more, like have more conversations and kind of create this support for one another. Someone like
Yeah.
me, I've only been married, 4 years, got a little baby. But with those that have a lot of experience, it's helpful and it's a blessing. It's beneficial for people to hear, especially for us women to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think Women Without Limits, the next step should be the household name for the young ladies coming up. this kind of thing is what they need to see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. So we've reached the end of this podcast. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to be doing this podcast once a month. The next one is we're still working on the dates in April. Jesus, time is going by fast.
It
April
is.
as well. Dr. Thompson is working on a group of amazing ladies in her workplace. So stay connected on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, which is greenhouselove.com. Yes, Greenhouse Love, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, everything. You can find me there as well. Be sure to check out our first book, like I mentioned, From Pain to Purpose on our website, greenhouselove.com, and follow us for upcoming Women Without Limit podcast. I always like to close out with a prayer. So if you guys want to bow your heads really quick, we can say a prayer. Father God, we thank you for this amazing day. We thank you for these awesome ladies, God. Continue to bless them, continue to pour into them so they can pour into others. And we could continue to bless this podcast, oh God, so we can reach the ears and the hearts that need it. We give you praise, we give you honor and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 I appreciate you guys. My director will focus out over there. If you can get it on. All right, guys.